Welcome back, friends. I'm so glad you're here. We've got some amazing stories coming up. But before that, if you're a new listener, I want to thank you too for choosing to listen to this. As you can see, we're a new channel, so any support is appreciated. Every like, comment, or subscription goes a long way. We do glitch stories and other unusual or scary content several times a week. So thank you. You're awesome. And now, the stories. First glitch. This is the most bizarre thing I have ever experienced. Growing up, my grandmother used to always tell me a story about how the week before I was born, her and my grandfather had my parents over for dinner. They lived down the street from each other, so this was a common thing. The phone rang just as they were about to sit down. My grandmother picked up, and the man on the other end asked for Annabelle, which just so happened to be the name my parents had recently decided on for me. This is a relatively unique name, I think, at least for someone in New Hampshire where everyone at the time was naming their daughters Jessica. My grandmother laughed and said, "She isn't here yet, try again in a week," and said she would take his number, this was before caller ID, for me to call back later. The man did give her his number and she wrote it down, just as a joke for my parents to remember. Time went on as normal. I was born and happily named Annabelle. My grandmother, for whatever reason, decided to keep the note that she had scribbled the man's number down on. It was stashed away in a photo album that was soon to be filled with many pictures of me. She loved to tell this story, so I heard it many times. Flash forward 25 years to tonight, literally this evening. I was visiting my grandparents with my fiancé. He just proposed 2 weeks ago, and they wanted to flip through old albums to show him what I was like as a baby. The scrap paper is in there. My grandmother grabs it happily and begins blurting out the story. He'd never heard it before, as this was the first time he'd met my grandparents since we live far from them now. He asks to see the paper, and his face goes white and says, "This was my phone number growing up." Now my fiancé is from Virginia, and my family is from New Hampshire, so it's not like our families knew each other even vaguely 25 years prior. He is 2 years older than me, so he had already been born when the call was made to my grandmother, and he lived in the same house from the time he was born till the time he left for college. The number was definitely his family's when the call was made 25 years before. The only conclusion we could come to was that his dad must have misdialed when looking for someone named Annabelle, and it just happened to be my grandparents' number. The saddest and kind of eeriest part of the story is that my fiancé's father passed away last year. Next glitch. I'm writing this with trembling hands, trying to put into words an experience that's shaken the very core of my logical mind. Perhaps some of you might shed light on what happened, because each passing moment feels more surreal. Growing up, my feet were always firmly on the ground. I'm an engineer by trade, surrounding myself with tangible facts and calculable outcomes. Today, that reality fractured. I've been wrestling with an odd tightness in my chest lately. It became alarming enough that my doctor pushed for a coronary artery scan, echoing the phrase, "better to be safe." Little did I know how haunting those words would become. Upon entering the hospital, the heavy aroma of antiseptics clung to my nostrils, mixed with the distant beeping of machines and soft murmurs of conversations. It created an eerie symphony. After the standard drill, signing in, filling out forms, receiving a crinkled paper map, since renovations made navigation a nightmare, I found my way to the waiting area. The room was painfully ordinary, like a scene I'd seen 1,000 times but never noticed. Faded chairs, and the relentless ticking of a wall clock that felt like a heartbeat out of sync. Occupying the chairs were an old man engrossed in a crossword puzzle, and a young woman who tapped her foot impatiently. I tried distracting myself with a magazine, but a creeping sense of déjà vu washed over me. Had I read this article before? OP? The familiar call of the nurse startled me. I pushed the weird feelings aside and followed her into the changing area, where detailed anatomical charts stared back, almost accusatory in their detail. Switching into the hospital gown felt like leaving a part of myself behind. The scanner room's bright lights felt harsh, and in its heart stood the formidable scanner with its rotating ring. The nurse, with practiced hands, attached electrodes to my chest. The cold gel she used reminded me of something, but I couldn't place it. Lying on the platform, a soft voice instructed through a speaker, "Take a deep breath. Hold." As I complied, the machine whirred to life, its hum nearly drowning out my own heartbeat. "Breathe," it whispered, then commanded. Again, deep breath. Hold. As the contrast liquid was injected, warmth flooded my veins, like a comforting blanket being pulled too tight. Yet as quickly as the sensation peaked, I found myself back in the waiting room. The same chairs and magazine article I swear I had just finished. The same old man, but with a smirk on his face, and the young woman who now seemed to avoid my gaze. The room felt colder, more distant. The sense of déjà vu had turned nightmarish. When the nurse called, "OP?" again, panic clawed at my throat. The routine repeated. Changing room. Bright lights, cold gel and warming liquid. But each moment felt heavier, like wading through a dream. Emerging from the scanner a second time, I confronted the nurse, voice edged with desperation. "Did we do this twice?" She gave me a puzzled look, her genuine confusion making my heart race even more. "Just once, sir. Are you all right?" "All right?" Far from it. I hastily grabbed my things, desperate to leave, when a faint circular mark on my wrist caught my eye. No band, no bracelet, just that inexplicable mark. Now, sitting in the dim glow of my computer, I've tried searching for answers. To my horror, I stumbled upon a Reddit thread filled with eerily similar stories, each person trying to piece together a puzzle they didn't even know existed. Next glitch. I work at a hospital as an RRT, registered respiratory therapist, and the following happened only a few hours ago. I was running 3 floors with 13 patients under my direct care. 6 of them I have treated for a few days, and I know them in terms of we have talked while I treat them. I am considered a kind person by most patients, so they talk to me and tell me about their lives and about the family, etc. There is this particular lady, 73 years old, terminal patient. I have been treating her for 4 days now, so she knows me well enough to not confuse me with anyone else. As I stated, we have talked before and even joke around. Very nice lady. At around 1:30 a.m., I was headed to her room to provide treatment, but as I was walking through the hallway, a code came in, and I had to turn around and instead run all the way to the ER to deal with the code the ambulance was bringing in. I was with that coding patient for a good 25 minutes, with all the nurses and the doctor trying to save his life. Unfortunately, we couldn't. After that, I had to continue my normal rounds, and my next stop was obviously the lady I was going to treat prior to the code's arrival. So I went to her room and she saw me and asked, "What happened? Did you forget something?" I thought nothing of it and told her it was time for her treatment, to which she replied, "Son, but you already gave me the treatment." only a few minutes ago." I said, "Ma'am, I have not. Did someone come in and give you treatment?" Which should not have happened anyway, as I had with me her treatment chart. She said, "You gave me treatment only a few minutes ago. You came in like you always do." Asked me how I felt, and we talked about adjusting my dose, because it's making my heart race like a horse, and you said that you would look into it. Mind you, she was not alone. Her granddaughter was there too, and she also said that I had been there only a few minutes ago. After trying to process what she said to me for a few seconds, I asked, "Ma'am, are you sure someone came in here and treated you?" To which she replied, "Not someone, you. You are the only one who treats me at night. You and that crazy nurse out there." I was confused and told her to hang on a minute, so I went outside and went to the nurse's desk where the patient records are kept to see if anyone had written on it, looking for any treatment anyone else had given her, but there was none written. I went back into the room and said that I still had to give her treatment, or I could have lost my job for that. Anyway, as I am treating her, I am asking her granddaughter about it, and she also is 100% certain it was me, and that I gave her treatment, and that we indeed talked about adjusting her dose. Now, I am here thinking and asking myself, what the hell? I was in the ER and there are several witnesses. I was there for a good 25 minutes. But the patient and her relative claim I was in the room with them during that time. There are no records of any treatment on the main patient records, and we RTs carry around a little chart of our personal patients for the shift, and no one else but me had it, so what happened here? I asked the nurse outside at the desk if she saw anyone going in. The nurse is saying that indeed I went in the room, then left, and now came back, but it wasn't me. I was in the ER. After this all happened, I talked to the security guard and asked him to please check the security footage and let me know if someone went in. About half-hour later, I came back and he said that, yes, indeed someone went in, looked physically just like me, wearing the same uniform, but couldn't make out the face as I never actually faced the camera. So the footage never caught my face. So now we have footage of me walking into the room, and brace yourself, footage of me in the ER at the same time. Needless to say, they are looking into this right now. Like I said, this only happened a few hours ago. I just got home, and as I was driving home, all I could think was, glitch in the matrix. So here I am, posting it for all to read. Update. I just came back from work again, and turns out this was a big controversial subject all day and night yesterday at the hospital. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone came up to me to ask me what happened, a lot of them in complete disbelief, not that I can blame them. The hospital is taking this very seriously, though, not for the same reasons we are. To them, this is a case of someone walking into the hospital and walking into someone's room for only God knows what reason. They actually are very concerned. They are investigating this because there is footage as evidence that this actually happened. A lot of colleagues are very creeped out by this, and some are just very interested in what could have possibly happened. I was actually brought into the administrator's office to give him my account of the events. I'm not in any kind of trouble, as they know for a fact that I was in the ER when this happened. He just wanted some information, understandably. I was ordered to keep this event between us, as in only those who already know about in the hospital, because this actually is being considered a crime and is under investigation. Hopefully he doesn't use Reddit. The hospital's administration interviewed the patient and her granddaughter, and they stand by their word. It was me in the room with them, and it was me who treated her, and talked about adjusting her meds and dosage. They too are now very creeped out after finding out why they were being interviewed. I did talk to them as well, and explained what happened. And they just couldn't believe it. They just can't understand it. Because they have seen me for days, talked to me, and joked around, and seen me in the cafeteria, even. The granddaughter, I mean. So it's not like they could have confused me with someone else. It was me. About actually getting a copy of the footage, I am looking into it. I asked the security guard, who is actually a friend, about him getting me a copy. But he can't, at least not now, because as I said, it is a case under investigation. Plus, there are laws and the footage has an overlay now, with the hospital name on it. Hopefully he can get me a copy of the raw footage without the overlay so as to not identify the hospital. But that, of course, if even possible, would be after they finish the investigation. And yes, the police is involved, and yes, they also questioned me. I have been reading up on these kinds of events and have found similar stories and too many possible explanations. Everything from ghosts to alternate universes to colliding timelines, so I have no idea what this could be. Who knows? I think they are sweeping this under the rug, so to speak. For the last few days, no one is talking about it, and by no one, I mean administration. I asked the administrator if there were any new developments, and he just said, no. Then changed the subject. They either have no clue and are just letting it go, or they know something and are covering it up. I keep pushing for answer, but each time I am stonewalled. This really bothers me, not just because I'm not getting answers, but because I am involved in this investigation. My name is floating on some desk regarding this incident, and I feel that I have a right to know. Next glitch. I had to get this off my chest somewhere, and where better than this site? My hands are still trembling as I type this, and my heart hasn't yet decided to resume its normal pace. Today felt like any ordinary Saturday morning. There was a slight overcast diffusing the sunlight, usual weather for this time of year. While shopping for essentials, and some junk food for a planned movie night, I also grabbed a box of mozzarella sticks, inciting an imaginary argument with my roommate over their clear superiority to onion rings. A bouquet of fresh tulips lay in my basket, a small comfort I was looking forward to placing in our living room. But even amidst this ordinariness, I felt a twinge of something, a shadow that briefly darkened my mood before passing. My phone broke the silence, displaying unknown caller on the screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. A voice, deep and unsettling like a late-night radio host, said, "Watch out for the green pickup truck when you exit the store." Who is this? My voice was almost a whisper. I just deliver the message. Stay safe. Then the call ended. At first I shrugged it off as a prank, but as I tossed a box of chocolate cereal into my basket, a guilty pleasure, the voice lingered in my mind like a stubborn echo. Grocery bags in hand, I was a step away from the exit when I froze. The mysterious call flashed back into my mind, vivid and arresting. Holding my breath, I scanned the parking lot. Right then, a green pickup truck roared past, tires screeching, way too fast for a parking area. I felt the air from its passage, a physical brush with what could have been a fatal accident. My heart pounded as I stepped back inside, bags slipping from my grip. I looked around, half expecting to see someone holding a phone, maybe laughing at me. But all I saw were oblivious shoppers engrossed in their mundane routines. So here I am back home, still unable to shake the feeling that I dodged something far worse than a speeding vehicle today. I don't know who called or how they knew, but that mysterious warning might have just saved my life. Thank you so much for listening. If you're still here, you're the best. I hope you liked it. See you next time.